All right, to discuss this further, I'm now being joined by Dr. Volker Stanzel, who's a former German ambassador to China, Senior Distinguished Fellow at SWP, the German Institute for International and Security Affairs. Dr. Stanzel, thank you so much for joining me here on the broadcast. Let's get right into it, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Greenlighting Ukraine and its use of weapons inside Russia, that happened earlier in the week. Of course, these latest developments coming in with the meeting between Merz and Zelensky and talks of possibly even providing Kiev with long-range missiles such as the Taurus. Is this the way to peace with Russia?
Well, what is the way to peace? So far, the Western allies of Ukraine have tried to persuade Russia, and that was without success, and then tried to nudge Russia towards agreeing to peace negotiations by supplying arms and other kinds of aid to Ukraine. Also, that didn't work. That's why you see in many areas that first people think about increased sanctions. The 18th sanctions package is being discussed in Brussels, and to give more arms and financial aid to Ukraine, including what's happening now between Germany and Ukraine, helping Ukraine to produce arms, long-range missiles, for example, on their own.
Dr. Stanzel, we're just days away from the second round of talks scheduled to take place in Istanbul on Monday, and that's on the 2nd of June. This decision coming just days prior to those talks, which one would only hope will reap some kind of a settlement, which has not been reached so far, and we're well into the 4th year of the war. Kremlin has already warned that such a decision to end range restrictions is dangerous and it will harm efforts for a deal. How do you see these developments when you put it together on a timeline?
Well, first of all, what Russia's doing every night is, of course, pretty dangerous as well. But to make my point again, the aim is to nudge Russia towards agreeing to really reasonable discussions on a missile, on peace, maybe on an armistice. Now, what we have heard so far in preparation in Moscow of the talks in Istanbul, so far Russia expects that the Western allies of Ukraine agree that Ukraine will not, or they make sure that Ukraine will not join NATO, and that Ukraine will help to support Russia in the areas it has already occupied. That is something that I think will not lead to any substantive success. But of course, talking is necessary, and sometimes it is successful, as last time the agreement on the exchange of prisoners of war was reached. That is at least something. So step by step, nudging Russia towards a more, towards an attitude that is more agreeable with the aim of reaching peace together is, I think, a sensible way to go.
And I'll definitely repeat what you just said. The talks are necessary, which is definitely the need of the hour right now, Dr. Stanzel. But if I were to just remind our viewers that the previous US administration under Joe Biden, they had given a green light to Ukraine to use the ATACMS missiles. And of course, that was within and inside Russia. And the previous German administration had also armed Ukraine through. We're today in the 4th year of the war. Do you feel this recent step is going to bring a different result?
Well, first of all, other allies of Ukraine had already agreed to supply missiles that hit targets which are about 300 kilometers away from Ukraine. Now, the Taurus, which has been discussed since 2 years already, has a reach of maybe 500 kilometers. And to not supply it, as obviously is not going to happen, not to supply it to Ukraine, but to agree to help Ukraine to build it itself, is most of all a signal towards Russia. Look, we're going to do more. We're not shrinking back because you're continuing your war in Ukraine. Now, is this bringing peace, is your question. Who can answer that? Even Russia, I think, is not sure where in the end they will go. They have agreed with President Trump on negotiating, but they didn't enter negotiations. They had agreed on an armistice that then didn't implement it. So it is very difficult to know the strategy of Russia. One thing I want to make clear as far as Germany is concerned, we have a grey war of Russia against Germany taking place in Germany, which is using hybrid measures, cyber attacks, and even attacks on individuals with arms. So that is something, the threat from Russia that we feel, and that I think also impresses our government to the degree where it said we have to do more to Ukraine in order to give a signal that Germany is also not shrinking back.
Dr. Stanzel, finally, I'd also like to quickly get one more response from you, and this is on the basis of what the Kremlin has said, or the response which is coming from Russia, that they are ready to take down the Taurus missiles, or whether it's the Storm Shadow missiles or the ATACMS. But they also went a step further and said that they are also willing to target the source from where these missiles are coming. Do you find that to be a direct jab towards the Western partners of Ukraine, Germany included?
I think it's not. Yeah, I think it's not a surprise. Of course, Russia must also underline that it is ready and able to defend itself, and that must include to deal with long-range missiles. They have, of course, already the Storm Shadow missiles attacking Russia, and they've tried to shoot them down, which, as far as I remember, did not succeed. But then attacking Ukraine at the place where the missiles come from is something that is understandable from a strategic point of view. I hope it will not come to that, but I also fear it will, in the end, not be avoided.
We all hope it doesn't come to that and talks lead to some result, and we'll all be waiting to watch what happens coming Monday. Thank you so much. That was Dr. Volker Stanzel joining me here on the broadcast.